if I'm late, I'm still going to go with this one. I haven't got any Legends news though, or Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. I'm just going to quickly address that. We haven't got any news for Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl or Legends Arceus. But I do ask you are patient because we really don't know what's going on at Game Freak, Pokemon Company, or Ilka. A lot of people are saying we're going to get news next month confirmed because that will be when the whole Sinnoh month happens on Twitter. And I did believe that for a while, but I have... I am very aware that actually that's not the Pokemon Company who's doing that. It's the Pokemon Company International. And that means that the news is not going to follow that because the Japanese side of things, that's not following that same pattern. It might mean that that happens, but I'm more expecting or hoping for something this week. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Moving on to some Breath of the Wild sequel. The first thing we see in the trailer is Malice, the same substance that we saw in Breath of the Wild 1 and in Age of Calamity. It's cut between shots of Link, Ganon and Zelda, and when I say Ganon I mean who we're assuming to be Ganon. It makes the most sense for it to be Ganon. I don't think anybody... I can't think of anybody who would think that it's not because of the massive Gerudo imagery surrounding this character. And we do see lots of shots of a flowing Malice, less viscous than in the original games. As we know, that one that we saw in Breath of the Wild 1 and the one that we see in the Coiled Forest in Age of Calamity, that is what happens when Malice touches water, creating a poison bog. This is pure Malice, which we see most prominently... Oh, where would we see it most prominently? I guess probably the Breath of the Wild 2 first trailer, and when you're fighting Astor in Age of Calamity. Those are the only two times I can think are most prominent that you see true Malice like this. But it is actually a much deeper red than it is in the other games. So maybe that has something to do with the fact that it's coming from Ganondorf, we don't know. Next up, the sky. When I was doing a reaction to this, I was actually reacting to the E3 Direct with my friend Louise, who, if you don't know, you should definitely go and subscribe to their YouTube channel if you're a fan of Ninjago. They, both of them and I, we were very, very much excited and very confused when we just see Link just skydiving from the clouds onto floating islands. Obviously, like most people, my first thought was Skyward Sword meeting Breath of the Wild. And it's not Skyloft. A lot of people haven't, like, nobody I can think of has been seeing or been saying, like, oh yeah, this is Skyloft. Some people are saying it could be the remnants of Skyloft, which I'm saying is possible, but, like, there have been a couple of people saying, oh yeah, we're going back in time to when it's Skyloft. But would that really make sense? They're releasing Skyward Sword HD in less than a month. So I don't think that that's what's going on here. But there's also a lot of theories about time travel with these floating islands, and a lot of which we'll go over later. Now, a lot of people keep saying, oh yeah, this is like not at all Sheikah involved, except for the fact that there's somewhat stylized eyes on this thing. I definitely think it's Sheikah, and if it's not Sheikah, I think it could maybe be Zonan. I'll go on to that in a minute. But the Sheikah eye symbol can be seen on this new enemy in two locations most prominently. Obviously on the bottom of its egg hand things, but also if you look at its actual eye, it has those three lashes, which kind of remind me of the three that you see atop of a Sheikah eye, which nobody seems to have noticed. that I've seen videos of. I haven't actually seen anybody talk about the one that's actually the main eye that looks like a Sheikah eye. Also, we have this weird broom symbol at the bottom with what looks like green markings around it, which is interesting. Like, and we have the same green energy that we see with the hand that we saw in the original trailer flowing through this thing. Meaning, is it not powered by the same blue Sheikah technology that we saw in Breath of the Wild, but maybe this is powered by some new thing, the same source as the hand, and that could create a Triforce of liquids, as some people have said, or energies rather. Malice representing power, the green one representing courage, and the Sheikah technology representing wisdom, which is what other people have said, and I'm also saying I thoroughly agree with. Now, this one was quite a shock for me, because I really wasn't expecting to see an enemy camp on a Stone Talus. Stone Taluses aren't hard to defeat, and neither is an enemy camp, but you put them together, that's going to be quite tough. Not to mention the fact that the Bokoblins are probably going to be a little tougher in this game, just given that little horn they have is now grown into a massive, almost like a Moblin horn. And we'll see that the Moblins also have a little bit of a horn change as well. But I do think it makes the Bokoblins look very cool and very much more dangerous. Interesting, that's literally the only design change to the Bokoblins that I can see anyway. But also the camp, I don't know if you saw, it's not seen in this screenshot, but they actually have the walls of the camp defending the weak point on the Talus, which I think is really awesome. It's going to make some real fun challenges when you're playing the sequel. Next up is time reversal. This is stasis, assumingly. That's what I've been thinking it is, given the same yellow colouring is seen here. There's when you use stasis in both Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity. You do also see a massive golden glow on Link's arm, Link's new arm, when it happens. So does that mean that that is to do with the Triforce of Courage? Could this, rather than being the yellow glow of stasis, be the golden glow of the Triforce? We do know that Link's quote-unquote champion ability is probably related to the fact that when you do a flurry rush, it slows time down. And we know this from Daruk's journal, where he says that Link says that sometimes it feels like time completely stops, which makes a lot of sense given the context of the game. Though I don't know how this works when in Age of Calamity it's not just Link who time slows down for when you're doing like a flurry rush. It's every character. So I don't know whether that's been overridden or whether they're gonna just ignore that. I don't know. We don't also know if it's going to be able to pause time like it did in the original game, but we do know that it's going to be able to reverse time, which is going to be really fun. And now we have the Magic Sheikah arm. Seemingly Zonai or Sheikah technology infused with the spirit of the hand, the energy, the seal of Ganon, basically. Which is interesting, because I'm interested to see how this works. We see it grabbing onto Link in the first trailer, and now we see it, I don't know, infusing the technology that has quote-unquote replaced Link's arm after it's absorbed by Malice. In the very first shot of the trailer we see Link's arm is completely absorbed by the Malice, and now this has been a lot more, he's got his new arm, his new technology arm. Now, the Zonai Flamethrower. This is interesting. Now, I know it's not very clear in this screenshot, but this is very obviously a Zonai Dragon Head as a flamethrower on a shield against some new enemy. Which I think is somewhat related to a Molduga, because it kind of, like, I know we see the whole Molduga, but like, if you look at it, imagine you're underground, right? And you see the same sand kind of design, but now with a massive plant attached thing. That kind of looks like a Molduga in my opinion, but it's probably not. But that is definitely a Zonai Dragon Head. It's the same kind of design we see across the Zonai Ruins in the Faron region, in Breath of the Wild, and I believe we saw them in Age of Calamity as well. I can't remember. But, and also if that at some point glows green, and I will show you when I actually play parts of the video later, I will make sure to make a point of that. That means that this thing is somehow connected to the green energy that we see with the arm, and more importantly, we see with the enemy from earlier, somehow insinuating that it could be the Sheikah and the Zonai who have got something to do with this. But I'll go over that a little later. Next up, the reverse vertical travel. Interestingly, we see a puddle on the ground, like a puddle on the ground, become a raindrop and float back upwards. And then we see Link going through the floor of one of the islands. This is interesting, because a lot of people are using this as evidence to prove that it's time travel, because it's travelling back in time. I don't necessarily agree with that, and I'll get onto that later, but it is interesting that that's the way that we're going to be travelling up to the sky. Next up, the floating Hyrule Castle. We see Hyrule Castle begin to rise from the ground. Now this is interesting, because in the original shot, in the original trailer, we see a shot of shooting Malice up into this massive, like, what I can assume to be somehow connected to the ancient furnaces or the Sheikah technology in some way. That massive structure right above Ganon. He shoots Malice right up to it, and this seems to be what happens next as the Malice is now lifting up the castle. We don't know why, and I would like to know why, but this is definitely quite interesting. Also, if you reverse the audio during this section and the section before with the reverse floating travel, then you will hear the theme of the tale of 100 years ago from Breath of the Wild, which is really interesting because we've already had that whole thing of the whole 100 years ago, what happened 100 years ago, because that was the whole point of Age of Calamity. But will this somehow tie into Age of Calamity? Because for those of you who don't know, Age of Calamity's story is not actually canon to the Zelda timeline, or at least to the original Zelda timeline, because Terrako going back in time changed everything, including meaning that the champions survived. The 4 champions of the future, who are from the Breath of the Wild world, assumingly, meaning that they will remember this when we see them in Breath of the Wild 2, probably. They travel back in time to save the champions. And I had such mixed feelings on this, because I really wanted to see what really happened. I wanted to see the true fall of Hyrule, to know what happened to lead to such a devastating state that it's in Breath of the Wild. But no, we had to have the happy ending, and so I would quite like it if in one of the DLCs they chose to fix that. Well, not fix it, but they'll give us an additional story which told us the truth, and maybe explained where Astor and Suga were in Breath of the Wild, and whether we're going to see them in its sequel. I would definitely like to see them. More importantly, we have talked about Hyrule Castle. Moving on, this is the game's scheduled release date, 2022, and this shot actually tells us something. You see those buildings right in front of the ruins of Hyrule Castle Town? Those were not there in Breath of the Wild, as far as I can tell. I'm wondering what they are. Part of me wants to say houses, because they do kind of resemble the houses that you see in Hatno Village and Tarrytown, the ones built by Bolson Construction. But I'm not sure. And it's also very clear that they haven't gone round to, like, rebuilding Hyrule Castle Town at the moment. Or maybe they haven't actually done any restoration at all. We don't know yet, but there is a few things about Hyrule to see, and we'll point those out in a few minutes. Next up, some theories. Link's Arm, the Sky Islands, the world, and time travel. These are what I really want to talk about, because there's a lot to talk about. So let's start off talking about Link's Arm. Link has a new arm, and in that little shot there, you can definitely tell it's a Zonai Dragon Head. I will pause the video in a moment just to prove it when it loops around again. And also you can see the Moblin's the new headpiece, I guess. It has like a helmet, and I'm not sure why. And there you go, there you can see the green dragon head, and it's very clearly Zonai. Link is wearing the champion's tunic. Very much, for people who are saying it's 2 different Links, it really isn't. They have the same ear jewellery and the same hairstyle when it's lowered. Like when he doesn't have his ponytail in, it's going to look longer. It's not the same. Like it's not a different hero. I don't think it's been that long of a time. I think it's most likely been just exactly just like, I don't know, probably minutes after the whole thing happened with Zelda in the cave. But now we can see that Link's arm is the new Sheikah slate. Here you can see that faint gold glow I was talking about. It is much more prominent in another part where I wanted to get a good shot of the arm. This also proves that Link and the other hero are the same because they both have the same new arm. Now what's interesting about this shot, there's no Hylian shield and there's no Master Sword. What is going on there? Because in the original trailer and in the first shot of Link in the trailer where his arm's being used by Alice, there is the Master Sword. And so what's happened? I guess that's for us to find out in the game. But we can definitely tell that this is still Link, this is still the same Link, he's wearing the Champion's tunic, and it's alright. Now let's talk about Into the Sky, which is what the section talked about, the whole sky thing. This is a really interesting section, because there's a lot to talk about with the sky. So let's get started. First of all, there seems to be a town here in the sky. Can you see those pathways? I've highlighted them in red, and there also seems to be a building to the right of that. And that tells me that we could be finding the hidden, or the remnants of the Zonai tribe just in the sky now. And that would be incredible. We can also see this new paraglider, which has, I believe it's a Rito design. But to me, it also just looks like a stylized version of the crest of the royal family. But we also have the same stream gliders that we saw in the concept art for Breath of the Wild in the Masterworks and Creating a Champion. We also see this new building, which is really interesting. Is it a dungeon? I don't know. Or is it just a random tower floating in the sky? I also don't know. It could be a dungeon. That's what I think it probably is, because it looks very prominent. But I really don't know. It just looks cool, to be honest. And now we see a Torii Gate. This is done with the same style of the Zonai structures, if you think about it. Because can you see that very blocky aesthetic with the blocky but almost carved view of it, and it looks definitely like some sort of Torii Gate built by the Zonai. And again, just want to point out the green energy, and we can see the Sheikah eyes. How are the Sheikah related to this? My theory is a lot of people think if you the descendants of the Zonai tribe live in Lurelin village. And I happen to agree with this, because they have on their boats, or homes that were once boats, the Sheikah eye symbol, which I'll come back to in a minute, but also a stylized version of the Zonai swirl. But in the bigger boats, the Zonai swirl stylized is inside of Sheikah eye symbols, which tells me that these two could be related in some way, possibly even being one and the same. What if there weren't two factions of the Sheikah when they broke apart 10,000 years ago, the Yiga and the Sheikah? But what if there were three? The Yiga, the Sheikah, and the Zonai. The Zonai were the more, I don't know, warlike part of them. They were the more battleish. I guess they were the ones that kept using the technology, but for good rather than for evil, and then they moved up into the sky. Or maybe who knows? We'll find out. And then we have these egg decorations, which are also seen on the lanterns. These kind of look like dragon eggs to me, like the scales. And we know that the Zonai worship a water dragon, which is most likely Farosh, even though this is a lightning dragon. You know, this could be related to Farosh somehow. And again, you see the Zonai imagery. If you look very closely on the pattern there, It's similar carvings to what we see in the cave, which that screenshot is not the best for that. But you can also see the whole Zonai head, dragon head, on a flamethrower, or not on a flamethrower, on a shield, which acts as a flamethrower. And therefore, Zonai at all? Who knows? I think it's very likely at this point. And now, let's talk about Hyrule. Oh god, the video's glitching. Has it changed? Yes. Yes, it has. And I didn't actually notice this. But actually, Zora's Domain seems to be unchanged except for the fact that you can no longer see Varuta or the Aquila Tower. But Death Mountain has changed. And I didn't notice this until I was watching a YouTube video yesterday. It's dried up. Death Mountain has dried up. Now, whether this is going to be a major plot point in the game, I don't know. Whether it's going to be said, oh yeah, the reason that Death Mountain was an active volcano was because of like Varudani or something. I don't know. But you know what I do know? that is going to say a lot. Like, is there going to be a dungeon inside Death Mountain? Would they need to dry it up to have a dungeon inside Death Mountain? We literally went into the volcano in Breath of the Wild to get onto Varudani. So I don't know, I'm very confused, but that might just be because we're not close enough to see the lava, but I don't think that's the case. And also we can see that the Dueling Peaks has not changed. It seems to be the same as it was in Breath of the Wild. And Death Mountain, here we get another closer shot at it. We can see a larger enemy camp, more like the one that we saw in, or the ones that we saw in Breath of the Wild, but it's a lot bigger, almost like the, not as big as the military training camp, but not small like the other ones just dotted around Hyrule. But you can also see the red moblin having the helmet in this shot. And also, this is a new cave, possibly in Hyrule, but also possibly in the sky. I'm not actually sure yet. And now, let's talk about time travel. In my opinion, unlikely. Reversal stasis. This is the only thing that I can think of that really gives any credence to this theory. There's a lot of things that people have pointed out which could be easily disproved. I'm not going to go over that in the video, but I might make a separate video on it later in the time. And obviously we have the reverse vertical travel, puddle becomes the raindrop, but I think that is just to symbolise that we're going up rather than down. And honestly, the reversal stasis, that could be easily explained away with just, it's stasis, but reversed. Now, thank you for watching. I am fairly done with the video, I think. First of all, before we go, it's been a while, hasn't it? I keep disappearing. I am now off school, so now I am able to upload more. And more importantly, I've been doing a lot more remasters as well. A lot of them haven't been getting as many views as I was hoping for, or as many, like it's been getting more dislikes, so if you have any reason why, please let me know, and if you haven't checked out my remasters, definitely do. Secondly, Pokemon Masters soundtrack on SoundCloud is going up, like I'm still uploading it when I can. When I get the high quality, when I'm able to do the high quality files, and I will upload them there as well. And I will let you know about that sooner rather than later. And let's talk Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity really quickly. I really want to talk about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I want to do a review of it. I've done some gameplay of it on the channel. If you were watching my Zelda 35th anniversary live stream, I did an entire stream where I was practically playing Hyrule Warriors for the whole time. I did switch to Breath of the Wild for a bit, but playing Hyrule Warriors for most of it. So I talked about it then, but I do just want to say, there are a lot of ideas that I have for that game, for what the DLC could be. Like, obviously we've had the first pack of the DLC already now. The second pack probably won't do what I wanted to do, but what if there was a third pack and it did exactly what I wanted it to do? So I might make a video on that. Honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you. The DLC for Hyrule Warriors, I wasn't sure about getting it at first, but I did end up getting it on the day of release. And thank goodness I did. Oh my god, it's so good. It adds a few new stages, but one of them is called and this is a spoiler for the DLC, EX Vicious Alert. Battle against it's called the Forgotten Temple. If you don't know, the Forgotten Temple is in the I don't know how the best way to describe it. The Tanagar Canyon, I believe that's what it's called, in the Tabantha region. And if you follow it along, then you'll get to an old temple, which is believed to be by, theorized, I can't remember which person did the theory, I think it was Zeltic, to be the remains of the Skyloft Temple. I don't know the actual name of it because I haven't played Skyward Sword, but the theories say it's the remains of that. But I wholeheartedly believe that. But in Age of Calamity, you go in there and you fight this Guardian, and it's not like any other Guardian. It's called a battle-tested Guardian. And what got me is the music. The music is incredible. It's so good. The music that they've done for the DLC, I would say it outshines even the music from the original game, which I thought was brilliant. The music from Hyrule Warriors and the music from Pokemon Masters are some of my favourite pieces of music, because themes from Hyrule Warriors, Suga's theme, Astor's theme, all of those, and the battle against Guardian and the Acolyte Ancient Tech Lab remix, which I think it's Acolyte Ancient Tech Lab. That's what it sounds like to me, but I could be wrong. And the Vicious Monsters theme, they're all just so good. But in any case, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it. I'm hoping to reach 200 within the next year. I mean, it took me 4 years to reach 100. Let's see whether we can get it to be just, 200 by the end of this year, maybe next year. But anyway, hope you enjoy. If you want to see me play games, let me know. If you want to see anything, please let me know and I will take it into account. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.